There's just something about $100,000. It's kind of a magical number, right? When you come out of college, the average college graduate is making around $50,000 a year. The average entrepreneur is making a little bit more than that. But when you actually make over $100,000 a year, it kind of opens up a different world of possibilities. This, for example, is an Escalade that costs over $100,000. You can't buy that when you're only making $50,000 a year. Or if you want to live in a nice neighborhood or here in the mountains, or you want to live in a really nice house, you got to figure out how to clear that elusive $100,000 benchmark. I know in my own personal life, the moment I cleared that, it opened up the ability to have leftover money every year that I could invest. It made it way easier to become a millionaire for the first time, and frankly, worth a whole lot more than that after. So this is a magic number, and in today's video, I want to share several ideas and several examples of what people have done, things that you can do to get over that benchmark so that your better financial life can start.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
So today's video is titled, How Can I Get $100,000 Fast? Like, what's the fastest way that you can earn it, not just once, but over and over again? How do you grow it? And you might be following me on any of my social media channels because I love to teach the game of real estate investing. It's how I became a millionaire for the first time. But most people don't really know that I make a whole lot more money outside of real estate than I do with real estate. So real estate is my foundational play for making millions and millions of dollars. But the reality is that owning different businesses, whether passive or actively involved, is frankly a secret to making a whole lot more money a whole lot quicker. Let me give you some examples. Now, you've probably heard of Warren Buffett because financially he's one of the most successful people that have ever lived. But did you know that his business partner, Charlie Munger, is a big part of his success? In fact, he's the vice chairman at Berkshire Hathaway. And here's what he has to say. He says, the first $100,000 may be difficult to acquire, but it is a huge step towards achieving financial freedom. How can we get to this milestone as fast as possible is really what today's video is all about. And I'm going to tell you that when they say your first million is the hardest, that's true. Making 10 million after my first million was way easier than the first million. That's true here as well, that the first 100,000 is way harder than the first million. So today is all about helping you figure out, Kris, what are the most realistic, practical ways to get that 100K fast? Let's start with some really basic examples, because I don't want you to think, man, you have to be some financially brilliant person, a software engineer, you have to invent like a video game or some really cool SaaS or software as a service. Check this out. This is $100,000 from vending machines. Marcus Graham scaled his vending machine business to a projected $500,000 in revenue in just 3 years. Here's some of the pros of something really basic like a vending machine, as in you buy the machine, you stock it with goods, and you leave it in a place, and then people just buy stuff. It's very, very passive. Well, here's some of the advantages. It has a low startup cost. Like, you can get into that business for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It has low overhead and low maintenance costs. Like, you don't have to pay full-time employees to just like stand and stare at the machine to make sure that it's being used appropriately. And it's easy to scale and train new staff. As in, this is not a rocket science business. Imagine that you had a machine and it was making you hundreds of dollars a month. You might be thinking, shoot, I'll get a loan and get 5 more of those. And if I can have 5 other great locations, then I might be making a couple $1,000s a month. And again, it is a very low cost business. It's a really high margin business, and it's very, very passive. But there are some disadvantages, right? It is very location dependent. Did someone else take all of the strategic like vending machine locations? So you got to like headhunt the right spots. It requires huge sales volume to profit, meaning I bought a candy bar and someone paid for the candy bar, but a lot of the money made went to paying for the cost of the candy bar. I got to keep a dime or a nickel or whatever left over. And then number 3, it has low asset appreciation, as in, it's not like a business that you're going to scale and someone's going to say, wow, I'll pay $1 billion for that business, because frankly, it's a business that anyone can do. But guess what it does? This is a path that if it works with one machine, you can scale it, which means getting to $100,000 is just a game of how quickly can you do it. In Marcus Graham's case, he did that in just less than 3 years with $500,000 of revenue, getting him to his first $100,000. My son is 14 years old and he's like, Dad, teach me how to be a YouTuber. I want to be a YouTuber. And I'm like, son, what are you going to do actually of value? He's like, dude, I'm going to do video games and record my video games. I'm like, okay, well, like that might work for you, but it's not going to work for everybody. So there's a lot of career options out there that seem really exciting and tantalizing. And you have to look deeper into the pros and cons to see if it makes sense. For example, check out here, social media marketing. It's a huge buzzword and there's a lot of young people all over the country that help companies with their social, and some of them get paid really well to do it. This is Strait. He's 21 years old. He's another stunningly young millionaire thanks to social media marketing. Here's some of the pros. It really doesn't have a startup cost. It has crazy huge margins, like can even be 95%. That means every dollar that comes in, 95 cents of the dollar is just pure profit. And there's subscription-based business model, which means you can pay once and it can keep taking care of you. This is what my brother did when he was in his 20s, and he was making well over $100,000 a year doing the same thing. But there are some disadvantages. It's a very saturated market, which means there's a lot of blood in the water. It's red ocean. There's a lot of sharks that are swimming trying to get some of that action. And it has deceptively steep skill curve. So it's definitely an example that with some hustle out there, you can get something going for yourself. My brother did it, Stage did it. You might be the one to do it as well. It's a clear example of how at a very young age you can achieve a lot, and working from home. Have you heard of Boba? Like in the malls, in the shops, it's these drinks with those little bubbly things that are really satisfying to squish in your mouth and go down your throat. Well, here's a bubble tea millionaire. Wilson K. Lee, restaurant and business coach, says that the Boba tea is the perfect startup in food and beverage. Here's the pros. It has a low startup cost, it has low overhead, it's very high margin, and it has high demand that is currently not being met by supply. Like you could open up a lot of chains and a lot of stores and crush it in the space. But some of the disadvantages, you got to be in the right location. That's going to be super critical. And you have to manage employees at scale for this to really work. But it is an example of someone taking a really simple idea and saying, I got some hustle in me. Let's go hustle. Again, it's not rocket science. We're talking about literally a food that you can buy and resell. I got a couple more really great realistic options for you, but this next one just cracks me up because it's so true. It's so simple. It doesn't require new ideas or innovation or reinventing some wheel. This is Keith Kalfas, and it's him getting to $100,000 one lawn at a time, right? He's one of many people making a solid six-figure plus income doing general landscaping. Pros, it doesn't require crazy skills. Like high school dropouts can rock this kind of business. There's no overhead, there's limited ad expenses, but there's crazy high demand. They keep building more houses, and you just gotta be the best in your area for doing lawn service. But there are some cons, right? It's seasonal work. I would view that as a pro, as in I don't have to work in the winter. It has moderate startup costs, like you might need a truck, you might need a couple of pieces of equipment. But the big risk on this one is that you may become that owner operator and fall into that trap where you're going to be the one doing the work. I'm going door to door. I'm convincing people to let me be their lawn servicer. And then I'm the one that's actually mowing the lawn. And your goal is to get someone else to do the lawn maintenance. And your goal is to get someone else to sell it. And I know a lot of people that successfully make crazy good money on a very simple old school business just like this. The most important thing I'm going to tell you in today's video is this. Don't reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create something that's never been done before. Either just run with an existing idea or take it and improve upon it a little bit. Innovate just a little bit. Literally, it could be lawn care. It could be boba tea, right? What is it going to be for you? Just know this. The most important ingredient to getting $100,000 a year or a whole lot more in all of these cases was being a business owner. In all of these cases was having some hustle. In all of these cases, it was taking someone else's idea and just running with it in your own independent area, which is why I'm a huge advocate for franchises. I study the top emerging franchises around the nation, and there's a half a dozen that I'm a big believer in. And they don't just make 100,000, they have the potential for you to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And if you want to see what those look like, click the link below and learn about what we could accomplish together in the franchise space. The sooner you hustle and make choices to get to that 100,000 and beyond, the better. You don't want to be figuring that out in your 50s and 60s or even in your 40s. You want to learn in your 20s how to start making bank so that you can save money, invest money, and really financially pull it ahead so that you can really start living the life of your dreams. I've been living that life for the last 15 years, and it's because I got started in my early 20s. In fact, there are 3 things that I do believe that you should know in your 20s that will set you up for financial success your entire life. And if you want to know what they are, click right here, watch this video, and let me show you at a young age how to start winning.